We're back, and we're going to still talk about the CFL, this time the Edmonton Eskimos. What can you say? They had a fantastic year, going 12-6, winning a playoff game, a home playoff game to boot for you guys. Just to give you the heads up, I know, Greg, it's tough. The Riders losing, but nevertheless.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Good. But I will say, the game against Calgary, they looked quite human. You look at Mike Riley and his situation, that could have been a big reason, his lack of mobility hurting the team. But Fred Stamps, you had your last year's leading receiver, very, I guess, non-existent, very human, didn't really factor in this year at all. The team was very successful without him. In an interview after the game, they asked him, do you see yourself possibly being back? He says, not likely. If he goes, which sounds like it is, I think he's kind of resigned to that fact, can he still be, at 32 years of age, be a top receiver for any of the other 8 teams in the CFL?
Depends where he goes. I'm just kind of looking at an outsider. I definitely didn't like what he did. And in a post-game interview...
As in, like, talking about...
Yeah, you know... And
even though maybe if somebody comes up to you and asks you that question, are you going to be just like...
You don't know if the media let him into those answers. You know, you media guys like to do that. And
I like how you say me
stir the pot. You know, not media in general. Like to stir the pot a little bit. But here's a team that Fred was on last year that was horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. They make the playoffs, they get to the division final, and what does he talk about is himself, which I kind of lost a lot of respect for Fred Stamps for doing that. But I think going forward, yeah, he still can be, you know, one of the
I say the Riders should sign him just because they need a deep threat.
But do you need another aging veteran player on your receiving core of a veteran core like Getzlaf is not a young man anymore, Dressler's getting older, Bag is not young. You know, you're getting older and older in Regina. Do you need to add another one? No, you know where he's going to go? He's going to go with his buddy in Toronto. He loved playing with Ricky. He's going to end up back with Ricky.
See, I love Freddie Stamps. I mean, and sorry, Greg, I am an Eskimos fan, so I was a little happier this year than you were. Yes, he was cornered a little bit by the media after the game. Did he talk a bit about himself? Yeah, Fred Stamps talks about himself, though. He always does.
That was Chris Jones, too. Chris Jones, Ed Hervey, they are not saying anything specific, but they kind of also said, you know what, look, we'll see what happens. They're not necessarily, basically, just to kind of throw it out there, yeah, this guy's gone. In layman's terms, this guy is gone. Yeah. So if you have your coaching staff, if you have your GM saying stuff like that, is it really insulting to have a guy like Fred Stamps saying, look, I don't know how my future is going to be with Edmonton?
I don't see a real huge problem with it because he's selling himself already. I know it's at the end of the year, but you know there's very few positions out there, and like you said, he's aging. So right away, if the coaches and general managers are saying he's gone, okay, I'm on national TV, I'm selling myself to one of these teams saying I can still play, I still got game.
Well, here guys, how about this? The Edmonton Oilers, they apparently have no game. Still have not beaten a team in the Western Conference. They're dead last in the West. Always one of the worst teams in the NHL. I know we talked about this beforehand when we went on air. I personally think they are even a worse laughingstock than the Islanders were in the 90s and early 2000s. I think they are the worst franchise, or very close to the Oakland Raiders in terms of laughingstocks in pro sports here in North America. Do you guys agree with that, considering where this team is right now?
Right now, they're the Washington Generals of the NHL. That's the Generals are the team that plays against the Harlem Globetrotters. Seriously, it is bad. And trust me, one thing that's going to happen in Edmonton, they made one change, but the other change they're going to make is make sure that the fans aren't too close to when they're leaving the ice anymore.
The mezzanine? Okay, a lot of people were angry about that. I say, you know what, let the fans do what they got to do. Because if you're paying, you know, in the hundreds of dollars to watch a team that you enjoy, that you love to watch, be so bad as they have been, that's frustrating. You have a right to be.
You know, you know why? I agree. Fans pay that money. They can say, you know, within reason. Okay, you have young kids around. Watch your mouth. But at the same time, you want to protest? Don't go to their games. And people keep on going. You know, and they throw their jerseys they spent $200 on and onto the ice.
Well, with all due respect, I will say you can go to the game if you love pain and misery. like some people do. If you're into
It's like
that,
it's
it's basically the S&M of hockey right now.
It's a car accident.
I think they are somewhat of a laughingstock, because when you look on paper and you look what these kids have done in their junior careers and world championship careers, you go, wow, I mean, this is a phenomenal team on paper. And they keep losing and losing in style. And I know, Moses, you and I even had a conversation. Nobody goes in, nobody picks up for their teammates. They don't.
When you had Draisaitl getting hit by Michael Roosevelt, nothing happened.
Nobody touched him.
Where was the jersey? Where was the blue jersey
or
in sight
said
when that
anything.
happened?
But the Oilers' fix to this is that they fired their goaltending coach. And, to quote Andrew Gross out of Ched Radio in Edmonton, he said, "My cable TV wasn't working very well last week, so I fired my goalie coach, and now it works perfect." That is not the answer. That's something, not saying it didn't have to be done, but that's not something you do and headline it. That's a backroom, that's a behind-the-scenes move that you make. Your fans are laughing, so the laughing stock's not only on the ice, it's off the ice as well.
How about this? You talk about the joke when it comes to firing the goalie coach, everything's going to be better. How about firing the coach himself? Dallas Eakins voted the worst coach in the NHL according to an ESPN ranking. Do you guys agree with that? He was 22nd the year before, now dropped to dead last.
You know what? I almost feel sorry for him. His second year coaching, he got all this, that every team in the NHL wanted, this young mind. I think now the Oilers are in a situation as Craig McTavish, that if McTavish makes the firing of him, it's going to be bad on Mac T because he hired the guy. But something has to give. And you look at him, he looks like a deer in the headlights on the bench. He has no answers. You can see that he's lost the room. What a difference a coach can make. You go a few hours south in Calgary, wow. Here's a team that is bought in. In Edmonton, they're not even close to buying in.
It doesn't hurt when you have a goalie that's been brought in. A GM didn't do that for you. How about this? How short is Eakins' leash?
I would say it's too long right now, and I think it is very short. McTavish, maybe that's why he's not making the move. I do feel bad for Dallas Eakins because he came in as a young, non-experienced NHL coach. I know he was successful in other areas. And to take over a young, somewhat arrogant team. They were all first-round draft picks, a good chunk of them. And he had to take them on. I would have preferred to see an experienced coach come in, like they have down the road in Calgary, and come in and mold these younger guys.
They did
and
have
get
a
them
guy
as
like
a
that.
team.
His name was Pat Quinn.
I
What
know.
did they
I
do?
was not happy when they shipped Pat Quinn off. But
I think one thing that's going to happen, I think the leash is very short on them. They're going to go on a road trip, and really they got to get out of Dodge. And what's going to happen is what happens in San Jose may determine what happens in Edmonton. And the reason why I say that, Todd's leash in San Jose is very short. If he gets fired,
he'd be the guy I'd bring.
Perfect fit in Edmonton. In Dallas, it's Packer U-Haul, you're out of town.
How about this, the Leafs? Now, you talk about fans. They have a right within reason to be angry at their team. Edmonton, fantastic, case in point. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs, on the other hand, not so much. Yes, the product on the ice hasn't been that great, but yet when your team wins and decides not to salute the fans, you become angry and distraught. This, to me, does not make any sense. What do you guys think of team salutes in this case? Should they just get rid of them? Because this is ridiculous if you have fans complaining, hey, you won, but you're not saluting us. That's not fair.
well, I'm a Leafs fan, so I've suffered a lot of years. So I deserve the right to blow a gasket at anybody, including the Leafs on this one. I think it was a move that was brought in, and Greg would know because he's the guru on this.
Yeah.
But the Rangers brought it in some years ago, and it was kind of a cool thing. And the other teams now, even the little novice kids have adopted
We're
it.
going to have to finish this up real quickly, but I do want to say,
I think it's dumb. I think it's dumb.
Rule?
I
Okay.
think it's a dumb thing.
Who wants to play in Toronto anymore? Simple as that. That's a prime example why no players in the NHL want to play in the biggest market in North America.
well, you know what? You tie your shoelaces a certain way, they're going to get angry at you in Leafs Nation. So it's a little frustrating, but I think that's a little ridiculous for Leaf fans. They could just calm down in that aspect. Your team sucks, definitely tell them they suck, but not when they're winning and they don't salute you. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be back with more. Gloves are off. Over under, next.